This car would definitely be a total loss if it was done in the States.
What's up, guys? It's your guy Ahmad, aka MeDoMechanic, aka MeDoCollision, aka MeDoes It All.
So before we start with this video, I want to let you know what I've been doing for the past 11 years. It's auto body work. This is what I've been doing. Fixed cars, different places, worked in different places, worked with a lot of people, different races, different nationalities, and I want to tell you what I know and what we can do in America and what we are allowed to do, especially in my state, Wisconsin. We have a lot of rules, regulations, and laws we have to follow. We can't just do whatever we want, because at the end there are other people that know what is best for the car. They know they give you guidelines and regulations and red lines you cannot cross. And here we're gonna see how they're doing it in different countries, and we'll comment about some of the points they're making, some of the issues they're making. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, so we're just gonna go through it all. Alright, here we go. So this is a Nissan Teana. This is what they're calling it in that country, and we call it an Ultima here. It's the same car, it looks the same, everything is the same, minus the moldings. The molding, especially on the bumper, we don't have those kinds of moldings here. When it comes to bumpers, he starts pulling here, but I don't see that he actually yeah, he didn't tie down the vehicle, unless he did the other side alone, which is something I personally don't recommend, neither any repair professional. You should always tie it down from both sides. Even if you're doing the repairs on this side, I would at least tie down the front and leave the back on a jack stand or something. But I generally wouldn't recommend doing this without tying down the entire vehicle. And let me just make this ×2 to save up some of this time, because it's going to be a long video. ×2, there we go. Everyone tells you that you need help when taking a door, but you can still do it by yourself. If you know what you're doing, you're not going to hurt your back, but they recommend that you have someone help you carry a door, because it's pretty heavy. It's not that light. Unless you shell it, like you leave it just a shell, then it'll be way lighter. But anyway, you should have someone help you so you don't bust your back. That's the rules and the regulations we live by here. Damn, that's really dirty under there. So yeah, as I said before, the car is not tied down as far as we can tell from this side. You can't see anything. And this clamp is one of my favorite, because you can do multiple pulls with it. Like you have a 90-degree pull and a straight pull, which is pretty nice on these clamps. Because if you want to have a clamp for each separate function, you're gonna have a lot of clamps, and if you don't want, yeah. You see what he's doing to the package tray? Okay, it is sheet metal. They would allow you to repair it, but a lot of times they won't. Sometimes they allow it, sometimes they don't. A lot of times they don't. If there's damage on a tray package, they'll tell you, replace it. And yes, definitely, this car would definitely be a total loss if it was done in the States. If this repair is been happening in the States, 1,000,000% total loss. I would total this all day. Also, I've watched a lot of videos from Mechanic Hand, and I really want this drill bit, because it's pretty good, honestly. Unless he goes through a few or resharpens it during the video, but off camera, because that yeah, it's a very impressive drill bit. Like here, the roof liner, the headliner, or whatever you call it, I would take it off. I would take it off. You're leaving it in, you're gonna burn something. This technique is very good when you're cutting in like the dog leg area or the rocker area, to use a chisel to just cut through the remaining of the inside of the rocker when you're sectioning. It's a very good technique that I actually learned from him. This technique I learned from him. Before I would just cut, just use like a smaller blade or a smaller cutting wheel just to get into those nooks and crannies. But this technique is really nice. I kind of like doing this. Like whenever I get a chance, I really love ripping these out. But I also try to get all the welds. Usually what I hammer out or pull out is the glue and the adhesive and the foam. Oh, yes, look at this drill. I mean, this is something else. Unless we're getting shit products here in the States, or they're buying us shit products, which also makes sense. Since Mechanic Hand, all he does is Nissan. He knows what's behind what, and he's been cutting. I haven't seen him go through two panels in one of the cuts before. So that's well, this is like one of the benefits of only working, like, I think it's some kind of Nissan dealership where he only fixes Nissan cars, or maybe all the cars they have there is Nissan. But anyway, it's really impressive. And yeah, after working at one dealership, you're working on the same cars over and over, you just know them in and out, and you know how to pull and what to do. See, this, they here in Wisconsin, in my state, they allow you to do some repairs. Like there's a limit to the repair they can allow you to do, like on the inner wheelhouse. Like, see all that? They would ask you to replace all of it. So this is why I'm saying this would be a total loss, definitely 1,000,000%. Why? Because these are damages, and they collapsed for a reason. They crumpled for a reason. Like if that inner, the inner rocker, the rocker reinforcement, if that piece is ultra high strength steel, we are not allowed to fix it. And we do get inspections all the time at the shop that I worked at and the shop before that. We always get random inspections, and if they inspect the vehicle and they see that the technician, screwed up somewhere or repaired something that we're not allowed to repair, we get a point. And sometimes I've seen people get fired because of it. Because there are rules for a reason. There are engineers that know why they did this. They know why they told you. I know there's probably money to be made, and that's why they want you. Hey, you're not supposed to fix this, even though you're allowed to, but they don't want you to. I know someone is making a lot of money, so I understand that part. But the bigger part of it is these rules and these regulations are put there for a reason, because they want the vehicle to go back to the way it was before the accident. Like, it's make it as safe as it was before. We don't want it to be stronger. Like, if you're just clipping a car, you can just weld extra brackets to make it stronger. That's not the point. It was made that way. It was made that strong for a reason. They did not make it stronger. They can add rebar inside the frame rail when they section it or when they make it, but it was not put there for a reason. They did not need it. So you thinking, hey, there's nothing wrong with it being a little tougher or stronger. Well, in another collision, it might actually affect the passengers. They will feel the impact. They will absorb the impact instead of the actual car that is designed to crumple and absorb the damage. Now, this is another thing that I've noticed about Han. He would be replacing quarter panel package trays, rear body, in and out, and then when it comes to little brackets, he repairs. This is probably not even a $50, maybe an $80 part. It's not even that expensive. I understand that sometimes parts take too long to arrive, and you just want to get the job done and just get it over with. I understand that part, and I wish I can, but I can't. Here, if it's that bracket and the way it was mangled, basically, it is mangled. We would never be allowed to actually repair that kind of bracket, that even if it's that big, especially for a cheap part. Unless we do it for free and no one catches us, which is also a problem. So we prefer to go by the book as much as we can, because a lot of people lost their jobs because they're doing something wrong and doing something against the rules. And our state, or the states in general, they love lawsuits, and I don't want to be involved in any kind of lawsuit because of a repair I did. Because if you look at it, it's a lot of money. There's a lot of money to be lost, not just gained. So we follow the rules, we follow the regulations, and that's stuff we have to do. Here, I don't necessarily see the problem with using a brush to brush on I think this is either e-coating or some kind of epoxy primer. I hope it's epoxy primer. But on, like, between panels where no one can see it, it's fine. Personally, I think it's fine. But you really need to get in between the panels. But even if you spray it, how are you going to get in between the panels? So, again, it's a double-edged sword. You don't know. But see, he replaced the outer wheelhouse. He replaced the quarter panel. and it's OEM door, and all the parts look OEM. And yeah, this is definitely an OEM door. And before you tell me they don't sell aftermarket doors, you haven't seen Africa. You haven't seen a lot of parts of Asia. They make aftermarket doors. We just don't get them here in the States. Like with this guy, most of the repairs he done, I like agree with like 85, maybe 90% of the repairs he does. But then it comes to minor details that actually matter in the next collision. They just don't follow them. Here I would actually use a pneumatic angle grinder because the blades are way thinner and the gap is smaller. When you're welding, it's easier to weld. But here, see, that's another thing. Here we have a lot of regulations against using a sleeve like this. We would have to be like you have to follow the procedures that are like the procedures we can and we cannot do. And most of the vehicles tell you you're not allowed to use a sleeve. Why? Because you're just introducing raw metal in the back. Because see, you're not welding the entire piece, and even if you spray cavity wax, you will not be able to cover the entire piece, and it will corrode even faster. Now, if that country does not use, if it doesn't get cold and they do not use salt, it's probably going to take way longer for it to rust. But in my state here, within a year of driving in the snow and the salt, within a year it will start rusting and bubbling. That's why we have to take extra precautions when we do repairs. See, this is a perk of being a shorter person. Not hating, but you can actually fit in places. Like you see him just sitting on the package tray, just welding, and you'll see in the video, just sitting inside the trunk and just doing all these things. I'm 6'2", and I barely fit in the trunk when I'm trying to align the hinge and the latch. But it's you get perks. You get perks. And yeah, this is one of the other perks I was talking about. You can just sit on the package tray and just do all these welds. I personally have to just stand on the side and just do them by hand. And like one of the other things I wish that Mechanic Hand actually has is a spot welder, because it saves you a lot of time and it's much quicker, and the cleanup is way easier. I know you can't spot weld every area, but like I think like 80% of the welds, if you're doing a quarter, like all the pinch welds, all of those you can actually pinch weld if you have a pinch welder or a resistance welder or spot welder. Depends on what you call it where you're from. And yeah, at the end, plug welding is okay. I mean, it's okay as long as when you're cleaning it, you're not cleaning too much material, because you still need both panels to be welded completely. And when you're plug welding, you're introducing the possibility of having holes in your panel, and if you put filler over plug welds, you're probably gonna have issues later, because they will start rusting and corroding. And again, when I mentioned that you can use a brush, but not on the outside, like if you want to brush on, epoxy primer or whatever you're applying here, on the inside. Again, at the end, if you look at the vehicle at the end, and you can see the areas that you brushed on, I mean, that's not going to be the most appealing to look at. We spray cars for a reason. You want it to look better when you're done. But again, we have different rules and different laws here in the States, and we have pickier customers, because again, they're paying a lot of money for the repairs here. It's probably a lot cheaper where this is happening, because they did all of this on a pretty old car, honestly. Because here I've totaled many cars with like similar damage and even a little less damage. Here, honestly, with like the heat lamps, let me go back a little. Actual heat lamps inside the spray booth, I don't think that's the smartest idea, because you could cause issues. This is what I've been told. This is what I've been learning. This is the classes that I've taken. They all tell you cannot have an open source of heat this way. Like if it's outside and it's just blowing hot air, different story. But here, and it looks kind of foggy. Like there might be still like fumes from the clear coat that are just floating in there, and they're baking the vehicle while this is happening. Maybe these are just add-ons and they didn't have heat in the original spray booth. But this is kind of sketchy, to be honest. Let's keep going here. Yeah, it looks kind of foggy. And reassembly time, I don't want to waste so much time on the reassembly. And let's skip forward a little. Like, you can already see how many colors this vehicle turned out to be. Like, why is this? I know plastic is supposed to be a different color, but not this far off. Now it looks kind of okay, but if we skip forward a little, honestly, on this one, on the back glass, you see all the bubbly wrap, the what is it called, the tinting. I would, because the windshield, the back windshield was it was already removed. I would talk to the customer and tell him, hey, do you want us to do something about this? Do you want us to remove it? Do you want us to replace it? Because it was out. It's like a million times easier to do it while it's off the vehicle, because on the inside you can ask any tinting technician. They will tell you that it's the hardest part of tinting is the back glass. So I would have asked the customer because there's a lot of bubbles in there. But after overall, I mean, it looks good. The repair looks good. Probably gonna last if they don't see any snow. Look at the color difference in the trunk. I mean, oh my god, that is way off. This is like, I am not even, I wouldn't even be comfortable delivering this car to the customer. Like, uh, and again, it could be just customer pay in. This is all they wanted. Maybe the customer does not have insurance, which happens all the time. It's very normal in a lot of places in the world. Do not have auto insurance. I personally don't recommend it because repairs can be really expensive. But here, just looking at the color, I mean, whew, it's way off. Like right here, you can see the quarter is a different color, the rear bumper is a different color, the trunk is a different color, the front door and the rear door are different colors, the fender is a different color. Like, just want to go over it one more time. And there it is. Alright, so we got, that's a different color, and that's a different color, that's a different color. These look okay, but they're still kind of off if you look at them correctly. They look off. These two doors are different colors. The fender is a different color. Like, the fender and the back door actually match, like they were painted at the same time, but they only painted this. They didn't paint the front door. But again, if you look at the fender and the lift on the trunk, they look the same. But if you look at the front bumper and the front door, they look the same, and the rocker. So front bumper, rocker, door and rocker panel, they look the same color. If you look at the fender, at the bumper and the front fender, they kind of look similar. But at the end, how many colors are we? How many colors is this? We got the front bumper, 1, 2, 3. Like, this is just too many colors in the same area. I mean, you did all this repair and it was cheap enough for the customer to actually do it, especially that this car is not that expensive, well, at least in the States. I would have gone for, like, at least paint the side, the entire side, door and fender included, maybe the trunk too, to make it look more acceptable, because honestly this is not acceptable. But when it comes to the actual repair, I would give it 8.5 out of 10, the actual repair. Paint job, I mean, it looks good, but the color, oh, that's like 2 out of, no, I would say like 3 out of 10. Overall, I would give it 7 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm going to be posting more of these videos today, so stay tuned. I'm going to be going over most of the jobs that Mechanic Hand does and others too. So stay tuned.